Hello, cheese lovers. Welcome to A Cheese Course, where we ruminate on what we love while we eat what stinks. In a good way. I'm your host, Adam J. Moskowitz. Those two hunks are my cheesemongers, Tommy and Alex, and today we have our guest, Allison Hooper, a pioneer of artisan cheesemaking and co-founder of Vermont Creamery. For over 40 years, Allison has been a trendsetter in the cheese biz. She was one of the first to introduce goat cheeses, cultured butter, and creme fraiche to the American palate. In 2015, she was named one of the most innovative women in food and drink by Food and Wine and Forbes magazines. Allison has been a voice for U.S. cheesemakers and a mentor to many entrepreneurs in the specialty food industry, including myself.
More cheese, more cheese. I love cheese, you love cheese. When two love cheese, we eat more cheese. I love cheese, more cheese, more cheese.
As everybody should know, I ask all my guests prior to getting here, what is your favorite cheese and what is your least favorite cheese? Because those answers really tell us where you're at in your cheese journey.
Well, not because you're an importer of Gruyere, but I love Gruyere and Comté, and I also really love what we make. And I think you have to love, most of all, what you make.
Whew! Okay, because today's theme for you is goat cheese.
Oh, how great.
Yeah!
Cheese. Let's eat cheese.
All right, Tommy, what do we got here?
This is Hooper from Vermont Creamery. This is the newest American original named after our guest today, Allison Hooper. Geotrichum rind with a really nice bee linens. It is a testament to American cheeses.
Strawberry Prosecco jam and an Effie's oat cake. So give a little texture and crunch with a little nice sweet and effervescent sort of pair to it.
Thank you, guys.
Well, it's dessert, huh?
Let's go. You go
Shall
first.
we do it?
Yeah,
Shall
let's
we
do
do
it.
it?
Let's do it.
Pop it right in,
You want to do it with the cookie or no?
I guess,
All right, do it
right?
with the cookie. Oh, wow. What do you get?
That's working. Great texture. Super creamy, not overpowering.
No.
You know, it's very mild. It goes great with the other, with the jam and the cracker. Love those crackers. They're so good.
I love it. Not too crunchy. The sweet goes really well with the cheese. Guys, why did you choose this?
Always balancing a nice sweetness with the acidity of the cheese. And the nice Geotrichum rind is going to have a little bit of funk. So something to kind of hold up to that intensity there.
So what did you want to be when you grow up?
I thought for a while that I wanted to get into the restaurant business. I loved to cook as a child. I had some summer jobs doing that, and it was okay. But when I started to make cheese, I thought, this is the food that I really want to make.
Huh.
And it really, the light bulb went off for me.
How does one all of a sudden be making cheese?
Yeah, it was quite serendipitous because I was living in France. I was going to college and I needed something to do over the summer. Couldn't get working papers, didn't have money to travel, so I wrote to farmers and basically said, I'm American, I'll work on your farm. If you can give me a place to live and feed me, I'll do your chores. In Brittany, they had goats and cows and sheep, and they made various types of goat and cow's milk cheese, butter, creme fraiche. They made charcuterie. They fed the whey to pigs. We made all kinds of charcuterie.
Wow.
It was wonderful. It was a really amazing experience.
Vermont Creamery. What is Vermont Creamery?
Oh gosh, that is the company that Bob Reese and I started 40 years ago. We met in Vermont. We didn't really know each other. He was working as a marketing director in the Agency of Agriculture. I was in the dairy lab. And we made cheese for a dinner, goat cheese. Now, Adam, you got to think about this. 40 years ago, nobody made goat cheese.
No, where were the goats?
There
no goats.
There were a few spotted here and there, backyard 4-H projects. But the chef wanted goat cheese, and Bob had to find it. So I made it for him. We said, well, let's start a business. And that was our market research.
Wow. So, like, why goats?
That was the animal that we had on the farm in France. So that was my first introduction to that. They're wonderful animals. They're seemingly very gregarious. They're small. They don't feel dangerous, like a giant Holstein. It seemed very approachable to me to be able to do something with goats. And it's different. It's innovative, right? You know, why, if you live in Vermont, why would you make something like cheddar? There's lots of cheddar everywhere. So this was about like bringing something new to the American market and something that I loved to eat in France because, as you know, you go to France, you go to Europe, and you eat fabulous cheeses, and you think, 40 years ago, we need this. And we don't have to, maybe we don't have to import everything.
Yeah.
We can make things here.
That's like a very unique mentality, I think, where like you're like not gonna go with the grain, you're gonna go against the grain. Is that like something that was innate to you your whole life? Like you know what I mean? It seems a little crazy. Like we're gonna try to do something that like France, for example, is notorious for. It's what they're like. Why? Like that seems a little crazy.
It's very crazy. It's completely naive, right? What were we thinking? What were we thinking?
What were you thinking?
We're gonna make cheese and people are gonna eat it because it's great and they're gonna love it. That was our whole, that was our plan. We didn't have vision statements and mission statements. We didn't even have a name for our company.
How would you describe goat milk, goat cheese?
People didn't love the idea of eating goat cheese.
Why?
They just couldn't really fathom eating a soft cheese from goat milk. And others would have had goat milk and it tasted bad because it was, it wasn't produced under clean conditions.
So I historically hate goat milk cheese because it like just comes off like, usually for me, goat milk cheese, it's like you take the foot of the goat and you dip it in piss and then eat it like a lollipop. Yeah. And I'm not into that flavor.
That's right.
But like,
that's a great advertisement for goat cheese.
No, but your goat cheese doesn't taste like that.
Right. Really good goat milk. If you put a glass of good goat milk next to a glass of cow's milk, you won't necessarily tell the difference.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. Goat milk has different composition, has what we call short chain fatty acids, so the fat globules, they break more easily. And that is the goatiness that you get, the good goatiness that you get when you actually make it into cheese, right? So you get that little piquant goat flavor. Yep. And you were absolutely right. It should not taste like the barnyard.
Yep.
We don't want that. But if the animals are raised in clean conditions with fresh bedding, good ventilation in the barn, and they're healthy, you're going to have a wonderful tasting milk.
I have this theory that like cream cheese as we know it today that I put on my bagel was born out of fresh chev. Do you think that's true?
Yeah, it's the authentic cream cheese that you're thinking of, like a Neuchâtel, right?
Yeah.
Is a lactic cheese. It has that sort of tanginess. It's very spreadable, which is made in the same manner as fresh chev, the goat cheese, the fresh goat cheese. The cream cheese that we think about today when you go into a supermarket is cheese that has been made with some emulsifiers and what do you call them? Stabilizers. Yep. Which aren't terrible. They're not bad for you. It's just that it makes the cheese firm so that you can actually slice it and use it in a different way. So that's what our culture has sort of learned about cream cheese.
Cheese. Let's eat cheese.
This looks delicious. Guys, tell me what we got here.
So that is Wabash Cannonball from Capriole. Ooey gooey cheesy goodness, ash ripened. It's your perfect picnic partner, and it's made by another cheese matriarch in this country named Judy Shaw.
And next to it paired is a classic honeycomb. So the freshest of the fresh honey, just to keep the pairing nice and clean and balance the acidity and a nice alkaline style from the ash.
No goatiness, right?
No. What does goaty mean?
Goaty actually, and I probably shouldn't say this on camera, but there is a sort of natural rancidity that the fat in goat milk has. Now, I should say.
Yeah, I mean. Why do you like goat cheese so much?
I like the goatiness of it. It's distinctive. Okay, so you're working.
It's not. Yeah, that's the word.
You're working with a milk that when you change it into cheese, right? And you're wrestling with all the fat membrane. It's really going through hell. I mean, you're really putting it through its paces, right? Yep. It's breaking down, and it's developing this very piquant sort of, maybe a peppery note. Yep. That's the distinctive goat flavor that you get. When people say goaty, you think of the animal. Yeah. You don't want the animal, right?
Alex, tell us about goaty.
So goaty is really a term that under the umbrella of a sensory evaluation can be called caproic, which is really those fatty chain acids breaking down because those fats are getting almost obliterated through the cheesemaking process. So goat milk cheeses have very fragile curds, and those fatty chain acids can be large and small. The smaller they get, the more intense different flavors. So you're gonna get some of that animal quality as it breaks down.
Something about these cheeses that is distinctive. For one thing, Judy's a very close friend of mine, and we kind of grew up in the industry together. We had really no idea what we were doing. There were no mentors for us.
I mean, but you, Judy,
Mary,
Jennifer, Laura, like it seemed like there was like this crew of women driving the artisan goat cheese scene. Why? Like, what was it? What is it about women and I don't get like.
It's a very approachable entry into that market for us. I think goat cheese is a very feminine cheese. Huh. It's it's very delicate. These cheeses are small. You don't see large wheels of goat cheese, right? Yeah. It doesn't have this sort of the masculinity of, like a Gruyere or something like that, right? Yeah. And the cost of entry was low at the time. You could sort of get into it as a hobby and then say, oh, I've got too much milk. I need to do something with it and make it into cheese. And so we all kind of got into it, I wouldn't say unintentionally, but everybody has a story for how they ended up making goat cheese, which is kind of unconventional, really.
So this looks different than this.
So they're basically made in the same style, this lactic soft cheese, so that unlike a hard cheese like a Gruyere or cheddar, you don't cook the curd. It's very soft, it's very delicate. So you ladle it into forms or you drain the curd and then you make the form. And then they're ripened. And we ripen them with a yeast. And you put them in a aging room to get this very delicate, wrinkly rind. And it is very difficult to develop this rind. And
talking about the G.O.A.T.
I'm talking about G.O.A.T.
The G.O.A.T. is if you see a small cheese that has like an old man face, the wrinkles. Right. That's a G.O.A.T.
That's G.O.
Got it.
Cheese. Let's eat cheese.
What are you serving us here? This looks delicious.
So this is Linedeline from Blakesville Creamery, Veronica Pedraza's delicate and decadent ash-ripened goat, an homage to Morbier as well, with the line of ash through the center of it, from some of the best, highest quality goats and goat's milk that you can get.
And paired with it, we have a very delicate yuzu marmalade. Allison hit right on that perfect spot, the cream line that we were sort of aiming for with this pairing that's bold And yuzu's a little bit more of a bolder herbal citrus that's gonna really pair well with that cream line developing.
What do you think?
It's very mild.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like it mild.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the theme so far? We're like showing you like the new school from Vermont Creamery,
Right.
then your best friend, and,
Right.
now we're doing the new school cheesemaker.
And I looked at this and I thought, oh, this reminds me of Humboldt Fog,
Yep.
which is Mary Keene's American original. And so it's interesting to see how others in our industry have copied, for lack of a better word, that style with the ash, like the Morbier.
You've been in the industry for quite some time. How has it changed?
Certainly, I am fascinated by the amount of play, if you will, that cheese gets, thanks to, some of what you've been doing with the Cheesemonger Invitational and really elevating the industry, the actual selling of cheese and the presentation of cheese, the things that we pair with cheese.
What do you think of this pairing?
I think it's a great pairing.
I love it.
It's a great pairing.
You think it's an American thing that like we're more into pairings?
It's like that in the culinary world, in restaurants too. American chefs are very willing to be innovative and do things that are quite unconventional. But the American consumer is very responsive to that. They love these things. And in Europe, they'll say, oh, we never pair that with this, or we never drink this beverage with this cheese. Or, they're very strict about how things are made and how things should be. And I think that, the Americans are kind of capturing all the conversation because they're talking about innovation and doing new things.
Do you think that's new? Was it like that when you started your business?
No.
What do you think contributed to this new?
Adam, the artisan American cheese didn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we were doing, the sort of the pioneers, as you call us, we had to establish some credibility. I remember going to a cheese shop in New York City, and the owner of the store basically said to me, Allison, my customers are very sophisticated. They travel to Europe, and they go to France and Italy. They're gonna buy the authentic imported cheeses. You run along, like, good luck to you, honey.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had to hear that repeatedly over and over and over again for a long time.
And in that, how do you stay positive? How do you keep going? Because like a lot of rejection sucks. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? What was it? Who is it? The chefs? Is it
The chefs.
Okay.
So we quickly realized that, especially if we didn't have marketing budgets, we didn't have sales budgets. I mean, we're just like pounding the pavement, going to a farmer's market, hoping that somebody might write an article about us. So in my case, in the 80s, all the best restaurants in New York were French restaurants. These chefs were they loved their French products. But they said, if you make something that we love, we'll buy it from you. You're right up the road. This is what we did in France. This is what we learned. You buy locally.
Right.
They kind of admired the pluck that a 25-year-old American had the audacity to think
You could do this.
you could do this. And, they were like, great. I'd get into these kitchens with them and I'd tell them my story about working on a farm in France, and I'd speak French with them, and they would say, wow, this is cool. We want to support you. And they were also very critical. So, don't screw it up.
Let's eat cheese.
That's what we got.
So this is Garrotxa. This is from Catalonia, cheese that was saved from extinction. And it is a cheesemonger's best friend. It is a nice, smooth, nutty cheese with like little hints of hazelnut to it.
And paired with it today, we have just fresh cucumber with a little black pepper to really brighten up the palate, really balance with that salinity there. And then some copa to add a little savory feel to it, and the black pepper ties everything together.
Why are stories so important when selling cheese?
Stories help the customer understand the cheese. One of the reasons that I love Comté and Gruyere is I traveled to the Jura, and I visited Fort Saint Antoine, and I saw those little fruitiers where they make these little cheeses. And when you experience what actually goes into making that product, you just appreciate it so much more. It doesn't even have to be cheese. It can be anything that you buy. And people, I think that Americans particularly now, are really looking for the story. They want to know, they want the authenticity of what they're eating or buying, and they kind of want the experience. They want to be part of it.
I think that's what it really, to me, understanding the story is a sense of place. Mm-hmm. And that we've moved, like, for a long time, we in America, we were like a chicken nugget society.
Yeah.
Right? But now I feel like we want to know where the chicken was raised, what it ate, and how it's come from.
Name is, yeah.
And what their name is. And I think, especially with cheese, it's like a flavor fingerprint of terroir.
When we first went to the Fancy Food Show in New York City in 1988, we had a distributor in Boston, and he said, whatever you do, don't tell anybody you make this on a farm, because it wasn't cool. And we're like, okay, we won't, we'll just, we'll be like, we're just gonna wanna blend right in like everything else. And once we started telling our story, everything changed. When people said, does anybody know this story? And we're like, no, what do you mean a story? I mean, we just make the cheese and we sold it. We're like, what do you mean a story? Why would people care? And then we started to tell a story, and it completely changed. And the thing about terroir is, terroir, for me, the definition of terroir is, what do you have at your disposal around you that contributes to what you do? So we learned that in Europe because of animals that, graze on high pastures, right? Or, the prosciutto is made near the ocean because of the fog that comes off,
And the salt.
The salt.
Yep.
And in the United States, it's a little more obscure, I think, because we didn't have these protected areas of the country where very specific things are made. Well, we have rice in Minnesota, or we have maple syrup in Vermont, or, different things like that. But for me, the terroir was the fact that I didn't have a lot of goat milk, and I didn't have any cows. And so I bought cream from a local dairy. It happened to be 40% butterfat. So I made creme fraiche out of that cream.
It's kind of like a chef. I kind of see Cheesemakers as sort of like a chef
Absolutely.
of terroir. You're kind of
Yeah.
like, the ingredients that you got will determine what it is that you're making at the artisan level.
Yeah. And I think that that's important because, it's not easily duplicated, and you talk to cheesemakers around the country, and they will tell you their story about, I couldn't get sheep's milk cheese, or I couldn't get goat cheese, so I had to buy cow's milk cheese. And then I had to blend, it wasn't like they had a grand scheme about, I'm going to make this product, I'm going to engineer it a certain way, this is my market. They kind of figured out how to piece it together.
So a dairy entrepreneur needs to be fluid.
Got it.
More cheese.
Well, look at that.
Hello.
Let's eat more cheese.
All right, so what do you say? What does it look like to you?
I see chocolate. I think this looks a little bit like a Grana style cheese.
Okay.
I may be totally wrong, but the color indicates a sort of, it's kind
definitely
of caramely.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard cheese. I see the tyrosine crystals. I see
Yeah.
the little white dots are tyrosine crystals. It's definitely aged. Guys, what do we got?
So this is OG Ghost. This is an aged Gouda style from Belgium, from Freddy von Trick. It's basically like your aged boardwalk fudge. Really, really good, butterscotchy toffee. Awesome.
And pairing with it, we have a beautiful toffee pretzel chocolate, both microplane shaved on top to really bring the aromatics out, but really wanted to complement the toffee sweet dessert note and let the goat's milk shine through.
Don't you just love that?
Yeah, I mean,
Damn.
it's like sweet, but the dark note has like a bitter note, but like there's no goatiness at all. It's just like, that is really good. What the funk? Rapid fire questions. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you a question, and you just gotta shout out an answer, okay? Best cheese to bring to a party. There's no wrong
this
answers. OG Ghost. Okay.
OG Ghost.
Best cheese to serve at a picnic.
Gruyere.
What is your desert island cheese?
Goat cheese.
Last meal cheese. You're going to death tomorrow. What are you eating tonight?
A 3-week-old bambouche.
Best cheese to put in a grilled cheese.
Cheddar.
Favorite cheese to put on a burger.
Oh, that could be cheddar.
Favorite cheese pun.
Honk if you love cheeses.
If you were a cheese, what would you be?
Oh, I would be a goat cheese. Because it's delicate and feminine and wrinkles are sexy.
Wrinkles are sexy. You're a successful entrepreneur. Your company has been bought.
Oh.
How does that feel?
Took me 3 years to sort of peel off the layers and then, sort of be sort of neutral, right?
Yep.
I have no judgments about what Land O'Lakes has done with the business. And what, interestingly, they sort of came back to me and asked them for some advice about, making the Hooper and some thoughts about where they ought to be emphasizing their time and telling the story.
From an outsider's perspective, I think it's really cool that Land O'Lakes has seemingly left the business to do the business.
Yes.
Right? There's sometimes a bigger company buys a smaller company and takes away all the essence and all that's great about that company. It doesn't seem that way here. It seems like Land O'Lakes is allowing Vermont Creamery to continue to innovate with product, to tell their story and kind of run as an independent.
Right. Well, yeah, no, that's typical in all sectors, right? The larger company comes in, we know better, and they know a lot, but it's different.
What advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs?
I think it's very important to, trust your intuition and make sure that you pick the right advisors around you, because early on, you can get some not great advice. And if you just take it because you think you should, because they're advising you, they know something and you supposedly don't, that can be very dangerous. We don't tell our story because we're focused on the thing that we're trying to accomplish. We don't celebrate enough the things that we do well.
Yeah.
What I see in the American cheese world is it's important not to get so hyper focused on your on the cheese industry, but rather to translate what the cheese industry knows very well about what you do. I mean, everybody, these guys know about every rind and the crystals and all this very technical stuff, but most people just want to enjoy it. They say, what's going on with this cheese thing? And I want to go to up to a cheese case in a store, and I don't really know anything. I don't even know what questions to ask.
Right.
I want to make sure, and I can't pronounce these things. So, how do you make it? You've got to make all of the things that you do approachable. And you just need to find out different ways to get it into more people's mouths in a way that brings them along, bring them on the journey.
All right, so to close out the show, I want to show my cheesemongers some love. So what I'd like you to do is we're going to look at what we did today, and you're going to let my cheesemongers know what was your favorite pairing and why.
Okay, for me, my favorite pairing was the
OG Ghost.
OG Ghost.
Yeah.
OG Ghost.
Yeah.
With the chocolate and the pretzel. I also loved the Garrotxa. And the reason why is that I tend to like things, this one I love because it's more savory, and I love the meat and the cucumber just with the cheese. It's great.
Allison, thank you so much for coming on my show. It's absolutely been a joy getting to know you. I love you to bits. I now love G.O.A.T goat cheeses even more. Cheesemongers, you did an impeccable job. Thank you so much. And cheese lovers, do me a favor. Eat more cheese. Thank you. Good night.
Let's eat cheese. I love cheese. You love cheese. Let's eat cheese. I love cheese. I love cheese. You love cheese. Let's eat cheese. Let's eat cheese.